Right now, Colorado Springs is considered a balanced market. It's trending towards buyers having more power, which hasn't happened in a while. I think sellers are more and more willing to give concessions. You still got to be somewhat reasonable with it. You don't want to ask for, like 6% concessions. The fear that the seller has when they get an offer like that is maybe your lending is so tight that you need those, and there might be issues with it getting approved, or their other fear would be the appraisal doesn't come in at a level that's acceptable to the lender. So if jack up the price to accommodate for higher concessions, now the inflated price might not actually meet what the appraisers are looking at for the comps in the area. So that would decrease the seller's negotiating power come the appraisal contingency after the appraisal is done. And so they don't want that. So you got to be somewhat reasonable, but I think right now in general, you're going to be able to get more concessions than normal. You start a little bit further than what you really want to land on in terms of the concession ask. That creates the opportunity for the seller to feel like they are making some ground in the negotiation when they push you back. That's just human psychology. Like, you always want to ask for a little bit more than you expect to get, just because everyone wants to feel like they're winning. And so it's like when you go to the retail store and you get a 20% discount. You may not know that they just increased their price by a little over 20% and then gave you 20% discount, and you're actually not getting that great of a deal, but you feel like you're getting a good deal. So you want the seller to feel like they're getting a good deal. So I would ask for just a little bit more than you need, and maybe have other points in the contract that you're willing to negotiate as well, like deadlines or post-occupancy agreement, something like that. I would. Sellers generally are looking at their net, and concessions are subtracted from the purchase price in terms of what they're receiving. So I would. Yes, that would be a good thing to keep in the back of your mind, is there's so much more to a negotiation than just the price. And if you're willing to cede ground and things that the seller cares about, and it takes a good agent to find out what the seller cares about, then you're more willing to get what you want, which in this case sounds like seller concessions. There are conventional loans. There's 3 separate buckets. You've got 3, 6, and 9% concession limits, and that's based on down payment. So it's the under 10% down, 10 to 25% down, and then the 9% would be 25% or more down payment. You've got investment property overlay on the conventional loan. Investment properties cap at 2% concessions. Just came up with, had one the other day where that was an issue. Had to make sure I was the lender on that one. They were the realtor, and they just didn't know that before writing the offer. And if we had a more thorough conversation, I think we would have been better aligned and gotten what we wanted right out of the get-go, but they had to renegotiate that. FHA is a 6%, USDA is 6%, regardless down payment. VA is 4%, but you can add another 2% if the additional 2% is used specifically for a permanent rate buy down. So also, fun fact, VA loans, you can use seller concessions for more things than the other loan types, namely debt payoff. So if you got some credit card debt, you can use concessions on the VA loan for that, which is pretty cool. On the VA loan is, I think, the coolest thing most people don't know is the debt payoff. I had one deal where we had a super high appraisal, came in almost 100 grand over what we had negotiated, and we were able to renegotiate the purchase price closer to the appraised amount, and in return we received more concessions. We received $32,000 in seller concessions, and we applied that to a credit card. So my client got a check at closing for his earnest money, and then another check for the credit card company. He was gonna mail that in, and basically wiped out $32,000 credit card debt, got a house with a bunch of equity. It was a fantastic deal. So, seller concessions can be used for a ton of different things: temporary rate buy downs, permanent rate buy downs, closing costs, all sorts of stuff. just know what your expected closing costs are going to be. Try to get a pretty tight number before you go into contract so you can get your agent to request the appropriate amount. If you have excess concessions, we'll find a place for them. You know, on the lending side, there's a lot of places to plug those in. And if you really need, you can try to renegotiate with the seller to turn it back into a better purchase price. But in general, I would ask for more. Try to keep under those caps we talked about earlier, 369 on the conventional, 6.6 FHA USDA, and 4% on the VA, 2% on the conventional investment property. In general, concessions are the most liquid form of negotiating power you can receive, I think. Thanks for watching. This is Josh Surver with Surver Homes. If you've got any questions about buying or selling a home, feel free to reach out. My number is 719-240-9055. I'm happy to help.